Hello and welcome back. So yes, this morning I took the train from London to here in Salisbury in my home county of Wiltshire, and whilst I love my home county of Wiltshire, I don't have time today for sitting around eating lardy cake. Nope, I had to cycle the 103 miles back to Greenwich, Curtis Ark, back in London. And along the way I'm going to share my tips and strategies to help you do your first century. Let's go. Okay, so now I'm out of Salisbury, about 5 miles in. Yeah, so let's discuss this 100 miles malarkey. So it could be that you've been cycling a couple of months, a year, doesn't matter, a couple of years, and you've got yourself into a condition where you can do 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles, maybe you can do 50 miles. And we cyclists tend to hold this 100-mile sort of milestone as a goal, as an achievement, and you're probably asking yourself, can I do 100 miles on a bicycle? And I'm here to say, yes, you can. I firmly believe that if you can do 50 miles on a bike, then you can do 100 miles on a bike. And I'm going to go through my various sort of tips and strategies that have helped me complete sort of longer distances without it being an absolute chore. So number one, the route. Obviously no two routes are ever going to be the same. If you were to do a circuit of, say, Norfolk, where it's quite flat, you're going to find it easier than, say, if you were to do it in the Peak District. Obviously, whether or not you do a loop or multiple loops or a straight line, again, it's down to your preference. Personally, I prefer, as today, getting a train to a location and then just cycling back. To me, it adds more a sense of adventure rather than doing a loop. So yes, when creating your route, obviously I would advise to start with picking something that is not just going to kill you in terms of huge steep climbs. The surfaces that you ride on are going to dictate what it takes out of you. I love going off-road, I love forest tracks, bridle paths, and just but today I'm running 28mm slicks, so I've had to take out a few sections and stick them back on the road, which has made it slightly longer, but hey, that's my journey, man. Also the weather. If you pick a route and a couple of days before you notice that there's a pretty brutal headwind that's going to be slamming you in the face that entire time, you may want to consider changing your plans. For today I actually picked two different routes. One coming from Norfolk to London, and one from Salisbury to London, going in the opposite direction. So, depending on what the wind decided to do, in the end, I've done the route from this to London, and I haven't done this route. So, and the fact that the weather was really kind of looking quite nice, and there was a bit of breeze, but hopefully nothing that's going to kind of make it harder than it should be. So yeah. here it is, the first of 3 planned stops. 31.5 miles in. I'm going to go in to this little lifesaver, and next you and me are going to talk about one of the most important things: fuel and hydration. One of the most important things you really need to take into account is fuel and hydration. You just quite simply, unless you are some sort of mad elite athlete who's used to it, you know, you're just not gonna make it. Absolute game changer for me was the water bladder on my back. Prior to that, I would sort of drink every kind of 20 minutes if I remembered, every half an hour, and I would just end up getting too dehydrated. So the water bladder, I just kind of remember to drink from it, like literally every 5 minutes, a few mouthfuls, and that's kind of stopped me from getting to that stage, because once you get down the road of dehydration, you're absolutely screwed. Also, fuel, I'm not going to start telling you that you need to have 100 grams of carbs every hour, because it's actually quite hard to keep necking 100 grams of actual carbs every hour. Real world sort of scenario, I would strongly advise you split your ride into 4 25-mile etaps, stages, with the aim of trying to get some sort of grocery shop, or even if it's a sort of random takeaway, you can just order a large chips. But that's what you want to be going for. You want to be, what is my phone doing? You want to be looking at sort of high carb foods, bread products, potatoes, rice, pasta. In a real world situation, kind of every 2.5 to 3 hours during your 25-mile stop, eat as much as you can without making yourself feel uncomfortable, obviously. Certainly don't do what I did years ago on a kind of hot day where I had a big cod and chips, and it was literally the worst thing I could have done. I don't know why I did it. I felt absolutely dreadful. I also carry a bunch of like 500 calorie kind of flapjacks, the sort of big bricks that you can only get in off licenses, which I tend to have, that I have in the middle of the stages, and also have emergency Haribo. This is literally one of the most stunning, look at this, it's like, so it really is one of the most stunningly beautiful parts of England. But yeah, I guess the takeaway is do eat as much as you can without making yourself feel uncomfortable and ill, because yeah, you're gonna need that energy. You're gonna use it as well. Don't be thinking, well, I shouldn't have, you know, pastries and cakes, and yeah, you'll use that energy, don't worry. So I calculated that for my weight, the distance and the elevation today on my perceived average speed, that I would need 7,000 calories, and I know I'm going to get absolutely nowhere near topping that up. So anything I do eat, yeah, I'm still in a deficit really. Of course there are all manner of gels that you can, in fact I've got one in my bag which I've never tried, but yeah, unless you're very, very familiar with them and know that your stomach tolerates them. I would tend to stick to kind of real food and water. I've also got a bottle on my bike with an electrolyte tablet in it, especially as today is. I mean, today is stunning. Look at that. Look at that. So obviously just replacing the salt and other minerals. Yeah, there's nothing like being dehydrated with a headache and an empty stomach with hollow, empty legs to make a ride not much fun. But at the moment, this is absolutely spectacular. Okay, so yeah, I'm just a tad over halfway through, about 53 miles now, and the next section that I'd like to delve into, I'm going to call You and Your Bike. So yeah, so no matter how fast you can go, there's no getting around that doing 100 miles is going to take a fair few hours, and you and your bike need to be best buds. Anything like tingling hands, sore wrists, sore shoulders, sore knees, sort of sore back is going to get amplified and magnified the longer you stay on your bike. So if you're currently going out for a couple of hours now and you have a few issues, I would go and get that seen to. Things like saddle height are pretty easily solved, and there's hundreds of YouTube channels that will kind of give you the basics, but if you really kind of are having issues, then I strongly suggest going to a reputable bike shop and getting a bike fit. Just something that annoys you 1 or 2 hours in is going to be moida 6-7 hours in. Secondly, you know, if your posterior is getting sore, either invest in some sort of padded bike shorts, or if you have them and they're really not working, invest in some other ones, some more expensive ones. The kind of cheapy ones, yeah, don't tend to sort of be that great. Also, one thing that I absolutely swear by is Cycle Glide, Body Glide, Cycle Glide. You apply it to the region, and it's absolutely amazing at sort of preventing heat build-up and friction, etc., etc. Also, I prefer the reach of a flat bar, but I do have these funky, pretty cool ergo grips that give a more neutral hand position and a bit more support. Also, bike saddle angle, it's quite a big one for me. I think I got a 40 degree angle saddle, and with a pressure relief cutaway, and that again has made a huge difference. So every time I start talking, there's another bloody hill. And this one appears to be a doozy. Let me tackle this hill and then I'll get back to you. Right, where was I? It goes without saying that this is a marathon rather than a sprint. I actually feel like I set off a bit too quick and enthusiastic today, because this last 30 odd miles, yeah, it's had its moments. And one thing I changed from my early rides was pedal cadence. When I first started doing rides of about 60, 65, I was very much in the mindset of, well, it's like a car. Once you get going, you just keep kind of whacking it down a gear or up a gear until you're doing about 20 revolutions per minute. But no, it's the amount of energy that you're having to use to push that tough crank round compared to a faster cadence really makes the difference. I timed mine earlier, and it turns out I'm doing like 80 to 90 RPM, and the great thing about that is that you genuinely don't feel on flat ground anyway that you're really kind of having to use much effort to keep the same speed that you would in other gears. So yeah, give that a try and see if a faster cadence kind of works for you. Alternatively, you could listen to absolutely nothing I've got to say, because I've allowed myself to run out of water with about 5 miles before, as far as I'm aware, there's anything resembling a shop. And it just so happens to be the hilliest section so far today. So yeah, a bit of a noob error on my part. So that's the bladder on my back empty, my bottle of electrolytes. Kind of feeling alright though. I wouldn't want to continue for too much longer. But yeah. If in doubt, carry more water than you think you need. Oh my word. Oh, an offie and a bench in the shade. What more could you ask for? Yeah, that's it, I'm not messing around. The next couple of hours. Problem is, I don't feel hungry at all. Which I know is probably the heat and kind of so yeah, I bought myself a cheese sandwich and I'll try and get it down But yeah, I'm sure I'll feel better in a bit. Crisis averted. In true British fashion, I've had a cheese and pickle sandwich to prepare me for what comes next. Let's go. About 61 miles. So a few more hills, and then I think the last kind of 20 miles is sort of mainly sort of west central London, east London, etc. There's no more hills, so yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, so 75 miles, got 25 miles left, and it's not even hilly, but which on a normal day 25 miles is, yeah, so a little warm up. Well, not quite a little warm up, but yeah, so I have one more chapter to the tips and strategies, which I will do soon. I'm also not going to finish at Cutty Sark in Greenwich because I really don't want to carry my bike up the north side stairs. So yes, if you can probably tell by my overall energy, yeah, I'm sort of feeling it, and hopefully as I kind of get towards, well, when I get to Hounslow, it's just a straight road all the way to Kensington, which might be a blessing, or it might just be the most soul destroying thing. But yeah, we see. Like I say, we'll do the final chapter in the how to cycle 100 miles soon. Yeah, so I'm gonna put a few more miles down. I think, hang on, another 5 miles. I think I get to Hounslow. So yeah, let's go. Well, I'm currently in Staines, home of Ali G and the Staines Massive. Yeah, not too sure what's changed, but I feel amazing. And I haven't drank or eaten anything different, but yeah, I'm feeling like energized, and I'm sure if I was to have anything resembling a slight incline, I might just crumble and become a whimpering mess again. But yeah, as things stand, I feel really good. There you go, just like that. I recognise something, Hammersmith. So I didn't film any of the last, I don't know, 15 miles or so. It was just the Western London areas, and they all look the bloody same. Hounslow, Isleworth, God knows what. Pretty fast going, kind of mixture of you know, pretty decent roads and sort of cycle lanes. Yeah, Chiswick seemed to go on forever, and then all of a sudden you just pop out by Hammersmith. So I think I've got 11 miles to do, which will take it to 103, and I haven't forgotten we still need to do the last chapter. Yeah, so I will go on record as saying that the last 10 miles is always a piece of piss. I think it's finish line fever. Just all the all the fatigue from the day, the dodgy belly from just trying to cram down food whilst just exercising for like 10 hours straight. Just all seems to go. Okay, so the final chapter of how to cycle 100 miles in a day, and I couldn't really think of a title, so we're going to call it the mental bit. Ultimately, as fit as you may be, as on point as your nutrition is, and your bike fit is absolutely perfect, ultimately how you mentally prepare and how you mentally deal with the route on the day can be a major factor in whether or not you complete it. I think it's very doable for anyone that's, you know, relatively bike fit and, you know, can do like 50 miles in a day. If you could do 50 miles in a day, even though you might be wrecked and tired at the end of it, I genuinely believe you could do 100 miles. Buckingham Palace there. I think we generally downplay or underestimate what we are capable of when we want to achieve something, and I think that's part of it. Is if you were to sort of go into it thinking, well, I'll see how I get on. If it doesn't work out, I'll get a train. I think you have to sort of arrogantly just say to yourself, oh, I'm doing it. Injuries or mechanical issues that just literally prevent you from carrying on aside, I just think you have to be absolutely pig-headed and stubborn and tell yourself before you even start the ride that no matter what happens, I'm doing it, I'm finishing. Obviously, and it coincides with the food and drink stops. If you think of it as a 100-mile ride, you're already kind of putting a huge weight on your shoulders, rather than breaking it down into, right, I'm not doing a 100-mile ride, I'm doing 4 25-mile rides. The police. And like with me today, and those segments were completely different. The first, I did 31 to start with, some of the most idyllic, absolutely stunningly beautiful English countryside, which was just an absolute pleasure. And kind of half the reason I go cycling is because I love to get out of London and just get out into the country. The second stage, I kind of started to get this kind of insane cramp in my thighs, and that kind of became a bit of an issue. Ultimately, you have hopefully a large, far more amazing, great moments than bad ones, and unfortunately there will be times where you want it to end. There are times where you never want to see a bike again. There will be times where you think, I don't know how I'm going to finish this, and you don't think like that. You think, all right, I had to do it today. I just had to say to myself, all right, I wasn't sort of eating, I wasn't in the mood to eat, my stomach felt a bit dodgy, and I just had to say to myself, all right, well look, just give me 10 more miles. And then when you get to 10 miles, give me another 10. I'm back in Windsor. Yeah, I was not in a great place. And then magically, in the most random of places, what was it, Staines? you know, there was no scenery, there was no, you know, there was nothing amazing to look at but a bike path next to an A road, and yet, excuse me, and yet I felt amazing. My legs felt great. I wasn't sort of aware of the stomach, and I just, you know, in the next sort of 10-50 miles just kind of flew. So if you're, like I say, if you're doing it with the group, then you've got the group around you that can step in and, you know, provide moral support and sort of encouragement. If you're doing it by yourself, then yes, I think you will have to find ways to keep yourself going. Another hour, another 2 hours. But I honestly think that as bad as the bad bits will be, and it might be psychological, it might be literally physical, it might be the weather changes, or it might just be that the stretch of road you're on is really not particularly inspiring. I honestly think when you go back to work Monday morning, the bad stuff will have faded, and all you'll be left with is thinking, shit, I just cycled 100 miles. So, like I say, I was inspired by, you know, a few YouTube channels. I just saw them out and about in much worse weather conditions or harsher weather conditions. And I just, you know, that was at a time when I was doing kind of like 30, 40s. I had done a kind of, you know, a couple of 65s, and they literally took all day, and that was with an older, heavier mountain bike. And a lot of the things that I've covered today, I wasn't adopting those strategies. And yeah, and they inspired me to just get out there, just do it, just book a ticket 100 miles away from home, and just do it. So, like I say, I think I've got about 7 miles to do. I know this next 7 miles like the back of my hand. So yeah, I'll catch up with you at the finish line. I know I said I was going to finish at Cutty-Sark in Greenwich, but I really suddenly realised I do not want to carry my bike up the north tunnel stairs, and kind of felt that it was a little bit more apt to finish in front of another kind of spire thing. You know, we started at I can't even talk. Yes, I've had fun at times. I enjoy watching, and most importantly, it'd be amazing if I inspired one person just to, you know, give it a go. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Rob. This has been Ride, Bike, Repeat.